Okay, let's play a game. Guess what car this is. Here's what it sounds like. It does 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds and has a 13.6 second quarter mile. It has a Nürburgring time of 8 minutes and 5 seconds. This is a car that you can buy for about $36,000 new with a warranty. It'll smoke supercars like the Lamborghini Gallardo, the Diablo SV, the Ferrari 550 Maranello, the Aston Martin DB9, and plenty more around the track. As you probably guessed because of the title and thumbnail of this video and the specs that I just showed you, this is the Hyundai i30N, a hot hatch from a brand that I think we need to take a closer look at. From the car brand that screamed budget Honda to a really competitive hot hatch manufacturer, to EVs, to too many recalls to count, what the heck is going on with Hyundai? So let's jump into the video. Grab your turbos and your boosted juice because we're about to make things go boom. So let's start off with a quick history of Hyundai. So picture this, it's 1947 and there's this guy named Chung Ju-young living in Korea. He's like, hey, let's start a company. And bam, the Hyundai Engineering and Construction Company was born. Fast forward to 1967 and Chung is over building stuff. He wants more excitement. So he turns to the west and sees these groovy 60 cars. He's like, I want to make some cool cars too. So he decided to team up with Ford to make this sick car called the Cortina. Now, don't get too attached to the Cortina because Hyundai's got bigger plans. They rolled out the Hyundai Stellar, which roamed the streets until 1992. And in 1986, Sensei Ford turned them loose into the US market. After bidding farewell to the not-so-stellar Hyundai Stellar, Hyundai started doing their own thing. They made cars like the Elantra and the Sonata, which are names that you probably recognize because they are everywhere. Help! What's that? Kia? You ran away from your parents and are now bankrupt. Well, let me just... Well, that just happened. Now Hyundai owns most of Kia. The rest is pretty much history. Hyundai makes budget cars and just kind of does their thing, slowly growing and expanding and just being a decent company. Well, aside from bribing politicians, but we don't have to talk about that. After absorbing Kia, Hyundai decided they wanted a little more razzle-dazzle. So they pulled a Japanese OEM and made a luxury brand using the same chassis and engines that are in the rest of their cars.
Fake news. Unlike the Japanese competitors, they don't share engines with Genesis.
What are you doing in my part of the video? Get back to the end, you know it all. Well, as much as I hate to admit it, Adam was right. They use a similar chassis, but their motors are completely different, which you will hear more about when we get back to Adam. Quick aside, the motors do share some parts, but the internals are definitely different, as shown by the reliability issues that Hyundai and Kia are having, and the surprising lack of issues that Genesis is having. Now, outside of the reliability issues, which I promise we will talk about, let's get to some of the good things that Hyundai, and by association Kia and Genesis, are doing. First off, the transformation of this car company over the past 20 years is ridiculous. 20 years ago, it was called the knockoff Honda by my mom. You'd buy a Honda if you couldn't afford a Toyota, and you'd buy a Hyundai if you couldn't afford a Honda. Since then, it's evolved. It's become a successful brand that's built its own identity as a sporty, quick, quirky, and unique brand that is no longer the knockoff Honda. Another thing that I really love about the new Hyundai is their N line. It's pretty cool. They even race in the World Rally Championship, which I think is the second best motorsport, just behind Rallycross. Now, that's pretty cool in and of itself, but when you take a look at their production cars, you kinda need to take a double take. Using the i30N as an example, it goes toe-to-toe with cars like the Golf GTI and the GR Yaris, both in a straight line and around the track. The i30N does 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, compared to the GTI's 6 seconds and the Yaris's 5.4 seconds. The standing quarter is done in 13.6 seconds by the i30N, compared to the 14.5 of the GTI and the 13.7 of the Yaris. Around the track, the i30N is also pretty even with the Golf GTI and the Yaris. Around the Nürburgring, which is the benchmark for car testing, the i30N laps the track in 8 minutes and 5 seconds versus the GTI's 8 minutes and 3. Both of them smoke the Yaris by a solid 10 to 12 seconds, with the Yaris lapping the track in 8 minutes and 15. Now, moving past performance, let's focus on some of the cool features of the N-Line cars. The N cars have these cool transmissions that make driving a ton of fun. They're really quick, and they have this special mode called Overboost that amps up the power and torque for 20 seconds. So you literally just get pushed to pass from factory with a warranty. That's some real race car type stuff right there. So when you want to go faster or have a bit more excitement while driving, you just tap that button and it gives you an extra burst of power. It gives you a little bit extra thrill on the road, making the N cars not just fast, but also really exciting to drive. They also sound great and are pretty loud. So loud, in fact, there are multiple instances of Elantra N and Veloster N drivers getting pulled over and getting fined ridiculous amounts for having too loud of an exhaust. Now let's take a look at some of their newer cars. Everyone seems to have their own opinions on these, and that's because the company is kind of trying to change things up. They're figuring out what it really means to be Hyundai, and by doing that, they're trying out some new styles that I'm personally still warming up to. I do love the Ioniq 5. To me, it just looks like a modernized version of the Lancia Delta, but made by a completely different brand. I feel like someone needs to try and throw an Veloster N powertrain into one of those, because Hyundai's electric platform is cool, but I want to hear my car make race car noises. Anyway, I don't love the Ioniq 6. Its design is pretty ugly in my opinion. It falls short, particularly on the rear end. But credit where credit's due, at least they're trying something. Not everything's gonna be great, and a lot of artists were not well known in their time, so give it 50 years and we'll see if it ages like fine wine or more like fine milk. For me, the new look is a bit harder to get used to. Some parts are starting to make sense, but it's not exactly my favorite flavor of car. It's like seeing an old friend with a new haircut. Familiar, but also weirdly different. Hyundai's on a journey to figure out what they want to be, and in doing that, they're finding a balance between keeping their old self and somehow trying something new. It'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Look who's back! I'm sure most of you have heard about the Kia boys. They were able to steal almost all Kia and Hyundai models between the years of 2011 and 2021. That's because Kia Hyundai cheaped out in security systems that many vehicles have these days, allowing them to be easy to steal. But did you hear the more recent stories of their vehicles catching fire, the engines blowing up, and even the transmissions failing? I'm going to go more in depth with all three of those points. 3.4 million vehicles were recalled due to fire risk. For comparison, the best-selling vehicle of 2023 was a Ford F-150, which sold over 570,000 units. That's 6 times the amount of F-150s sold. The reason for the fire was an O-ring within the master brake reservoir would fail, causing brake fluid to leak out onto the anti-locking braking system module and cause a short. This short is an electrical hazard, and this would happen even when the vehicle is parked and no owners around. So just spontaneously combust. They came up with a fix, as any reputable car company would. Their fix was to change the fuse for the brake module. So this would allow less current to flow through before the fuse would pop and lower the chance of a fire risk. If you wanted the O-ring to be fixed, well, you have to pay full price. So 12 Kia models of various years were affected by this O-ring issue, along with 13 Hyundai models. Another settlement covering 2.1 million vehicles was settled. This settlement is due to a high number of Kia Hyundai models where the engines would prematurely fail. The vehicles under, or more accurately on fire, are the ones with the 2.4, the 2.0, and the 1.6 liter engines. They all fail for the same reason. In the manufacturing process, there seems to be a defect where the connecting rod bearings would fail quickly, putting metal shavings into the oil, clogging the oil passages, and then it would starve the engine of its oil. Glitter oil is bad. 9 Hyundai models and 9 Kia models of various engines and model years were affected by this failure. Hyundai and Kia put a dual clutch transmission into some of their vehicles. A DCT is a super cool style of automatic transmission that, according to the name, has 2 clutches. The advantages are quicker shifts, better clutch engagement, and you can push even more power through the transmission because the torque is split between 2 clutches rather than 1. Even though this is great transmission for performance versions, I don't really understand why they built it. I mean, they put this into lots of their SUVs and non-N models, so the cost is just higher for those vehicles because the development of a DCT is more costly. The Santa Fe, the Santa Cruz, Sonata, Elantra N, Veloster N, Kona N, Kia Sorento, and Kia K5 have the 8-speed wet DCT. Half of those can go without a DCT and nobody would be the wiser. While the Elantra and Veloster N versions already have manual options, they do offer the 8-speed wet DCT, which is an amazing offer. There may be more models that have this DCT that I missed, but I wasn't able to do a very great research because what kept coming up was a recall due to those wet DCTs failing. The high pressure oil pump, because it's a wet DCT, uses oil, would fail. Because of this, the vehicle will go into limp mode for 20-30 seconds and then completely shut off, disengaging the clutches, which puts you into neutral, until you get it fixed and clear the codes. Honestly, if you're an auto technician and you want to always have work to do, you could go work for a Hyundai Kia dealership. If you're a flat rate technician, you'll pull in over 40 hours every week, guaranteed. And that's me, I'm Adam. Don't Google me.
Hey, you made it to the end. Congratulations. You're pretty persistent. Thanks for sticking around and dealing with us. I hope you guys liked the video. Boosted Juice is getting a bit of a second shot at life here with my friend Adam, who you guys just met. He's got a good bit of experience working on cars and is fascinated and knowledgeable about the mechanics and engineering of them. So I hope he brings a fresh set of opinions to the videos and can give us a little bit more detail on what makes a good car. Anyways, we're gonna try and upload every week, but no promises. As always, thanks for watching. Love ya. Boosted Juice out.
I'm coming with you, dear Maria, count me in. Come on, baby girl. There you are. Welcome back.